and welcome to Chess for Beginners lesson number 6. In today's lesson, we are going to look at space and the center, a continuation from our lesson number 5. So we are going to focus on controlling the center and the effect of pieces at the center. My name is FM Steve. So if we look at a game that was played by top players, and in this game, we are going to see the significance of space and the center. So the first move was d4, d5, c4. I'll be mentioning this in our future classes. It seems like white is giving a free pawn, but it's not actually a free pawn. So I'll be explaining it further in our future classes. So after c4, c6, knight f3, knight f6, knight c3, e6, e3, bishop b4, bishop d3, and now black captured. Now we want to, if we take back, we have to ask ourselves, how comes black didn't capture immediately, but had to wait until white developed the bishop? So black wanted, by doing so that white wastes a move. Now it's like white is playing with one piece twice. So it's just like a strategy. So black was aiming for white to waste a move. So black captured and white captured. Now black's idea will now be, of course, first to think about king safety and probably play c5, because it will be important for these two pieces to be developed. And black has to figure out a way of developing. If you look at the bishop's diagonal is blocked, the knight has no good square to move. So black has to find a way of bringing the knight in a good square. And therefore black will have ideas like c5. So black now castled, and of course white castled. King safety is key. c5, like I'd mentioned, the idea is probably to bring knight c6, and also to attack white's center. So queen e2. Now let's try to figure out why queen e2. When you are playing chess, you need to try and keep improving your position. So one of the idea of queen e2 is to prepare for rook to move to 1. Now, with the rook to d1, and maybe with a possibility of capturing the pawn and opening up, attacking black's queen. So that can be one of the ideas that white is preparing to do. Now, if we look at the continuation, after queen e2, black captured bishop times c4, and white captured, pawn picks, then black captured. Now, at this point, it's very important to understand how to pick back. There are several ways how white can pick. White can decide to pick with a knight, of which it's not a good way to capture, because white has to try and maintain control of the center. And if you control the center with a pawn, it's far much better. Secondly, if you look at white's pawn structure, these pawns are isolated. So this white's pawn is not pretty well in this square. Therefore, white may consider capturing with the c pawn, with the idea to keep good pawn structure, and at the same time to open up the file, the c file, because once this pawn is out, then white may rely to attack on the c file. White may also pick with the e pawn, probably with the idea to open up the diagonal for the dark colored bishop. Remember, this bishop, if white captures with the c pawn, Then the bishop can still move to b2 or a3 to give support for the knight, that this knight might be moving to e5 at some point. So that is also going to be a very nice way to play. Let's say, for example, if white captures with a c pawn and black plays knight c6, white can either move the bishop to b2 or a3 to attack the rook. So white has those options. So let's say bishop b2, assuming black plays b6, white plays rook c1, rook a c1, uh, black might play bishop b7, and white can now play the other rook to d1. This is a very simple way of playing. Black might play rook c8, and you can see both players are trying to improve their pieces. Then white might consider bishop d3. Now, if you look at this position, what both players are doing, they've kind of improved their position. You can see this, starting with white, the bishop is now well placed in a diagonal, targeting the king, and playing for a checkmate is always the idea. So with the bishop to d3, the bishop may not stay here for long. Let's assume black plays ideas like rook e8, then the bishop might move to b1, preparing for knight or queen. Queen might come to d3, put pressure at h7. There is a possibility of pawn push. This bishop might capture the knight at some point with the queen here and preparing for a checkmate or very dangerous attack. So that is one way on how the game can continue. The good thing with chess is that as long as you have a plan, you are likely to get it right. So in this particular game, however, the move that, if we look at the other way to capture, the moment the bishop captured, we'll go back here, and now the bishop has captured the knight, pawn picks, and at this point, this other move could be played, and actually it's what was played in the game. Now, white may not have nice pawns, but probably the reason why white captured that way was to make way for this bishop, to improve the light color bishop. So what white wants to rely upon is probably the two bishops. This bishop might relocate to d3 at some point, and this bishop has a way of moving to f4 or g5. And by doing so, white will be putting pressure at h7, trying to rely on the bishops. Now, so white wants to also try to probably use the e file. The e file is now likely to be opened, and white will be relying on the major pieces. So black continued with knight to c6. White played bishop g5 as mentioned earlier. And so the bishop now finds a splendid square. First, it makes a pin on the black's knight, and secondly, it ties the black queen. It ties the black queen to defending f6. Since if the queen moves out of the diagonal, for black to capture with the g pawn, the king will remain exposed. Now, so at this point, black now played a6. We need to see the pluses. the small pluses that we add for us to win in chess. Just like they say, Rome was not built in a day. So you cannot expect to just start the game and make checkmate. So you must start building your position, improving your position bit by bit, and eventually victory will come. So you need to try and also utilize all your forces. So a6, now rook f goes to e1. You can see now the rook is improved. The rook was initially at f, not a good file for the rook. Now the rook is at e1, and white is slowly. These are the small bits white is doing. Keep improving their position. b7 to b5. So black played b5, and now bishop b3. The bishop will probably move to c2 with the idea of queen d3 and put pressure at the longer diagonal. Now bishop d3 aiming at h7 was of course also a good move, but white has two very good reasons for preferring bishop b3. So we want to see why white is preferring bishop b3 and not straight away bishop to d3. So uh, reason number one, white is preferring bishop b3 because he wants to rely on d3 for the queen. Look at the queen can't go to e4. So if white was to put the bishop here, then white will have a long way to think about queen joining the play because the knight is at f6. Now, reason number two, the bishop at b3, it supports an eventual breakthrough of d4 to d5. So with the queen and rook lined up in the e file, there is also a possibility of d4, d5. So with the bishop at b3, still it has the idea of playing, white has an idea of playing d4 to d5 to try and open the file. So black now played bishop b7. And now, if we look at this position, we'll find that there is only one piece, one white piece that is not in action, and that is the rook. So the rook at a1 is off play. So we need to figure out how this rook will come into play. And the right file is this file, with the idea to still push the pawn to d5 and continue with the attack. So black now played rook c8. White has to be careful about this pawn. And now white keeps improving the position. So knight to e5. And you can see white is just improving the position bit by bit. Now knight e5 is now very good and it cannot be captured. The reason is if black captures the knight, white will capture back with the pawn, opening an attack on the queen because the rook is at d1 and attacking the knight at f6 twice because the pawn will be at e5. So black will end up losing a piece. So far, white is playing good game. All the pieces are functioning. Knight e5, bishop is well placed, rooks are well placed, there is a pin, and everything is going white's way. So knight e5 was played. Now after that, the knight had to go back to b8. Now the knight is probably aiming for d7. Now the idea is with the knight going to d7, black wants to get the queen out of the pin such that if the bishop captures f6, black may recapture with the knight at d7. So black is just thinking about getting the queen out of the pin. in out of d8 because the knight is pinned at f6. Now, so the next move was knight g4, and you can see very simple because whenever you are making a pin, in chess this is called pin. It's a tactic. This knight can't capture because black will end up losing the queen. So in case whenever you are attacking, you need to keep putting more attack on a piece that is pinned. Now, so knight d7, d5, opening the line for the major pieces, the bishop, and of course, the bishop and the rook. So now, if you look at these pieces are well placed, white, all pieces are well placed. Now the time has come for white to smash and open the center file. So bishop captures d5, bishop captures d5, pawn picks, and the advantage of the pin. So the rook just captured the pawn. Now it's looking very bad. White is planning to pick here, and black cannot capture with the knight because the rook is now pinning the queen. So white wants to demolish where black has castle. So the rook moved to e8, attacking the queen. Now, of course, black tries to fight back in the center, but it's too late. So the first move that was played was knight times knight check. And you can see it's just interesting. They can't capture back with the knight because he'll pick queen first. And they can't take your queen when you take their queen because he'll be pinning that rook. So they have to capture with the pawn. So pawn picks, and this is what white wanted. So after pawn picks, because if queen was to pick, then you just pick the rook first, check, and you win a piece. So the bishop now moved to e3 since the queen was attacked, and you can see now what's happening. The queen and the rook are heading towards the king that is not well covered, and after that checkmate will soon be will soon come. So it will just, the game will be over. After that, the king will be attacked and the game will be over. So bishop e3, rook c7, just trying to move out of the pin, probably queen c8, and it's just a bad position. So there was also a threat of queen g4. So there was a threat of queen g4 check and winning the knight. So that's another reason why black has played rook to c7. Still white played it anyway, check, king h8, and rook d1. You can see it's attacking that knight again. So it's attacked 3 times. So probably black will have to play rook e7, and it's just a crazy way to play it. And bishop will come and the game will be over. So rook e7, the only move that black can play, bishop h6. Now there is a threat of checkmate. Bishop h6 threatening checkmate. And now here, black played queen g8 to prevent checkmate. White played queen f4. Interesting. Attacking the rook and still attacking this pawn somehow. Because now we want to destroy the guard, and then we pick here check, followed by mate. So queen e8, which interesting. This person wants to go check and mate. So black wants to go check, white picks, and the queen makes a checkmate. Now, so what white played is very simple. King f1. After this, now it's very hard for black. So king f1, rook e5, and the game is just over. We destroy the guard. It has 3 points, but it's important to take it because now we want to capture at f6 with checkmate to follow. So rook takes, rook captured, and now queen captures f6 check. Here, black resigned because it's mate next move. King g8, queen g7, it will be a checkmate. Now, in summary, we'll find that if you place your pieces in central position, they will have a say in what happens over the whole board. Not only will there be a large number of squares to which they can go, but they will be able to advance and retreat. So that's the beauty of placing the pieces on the center, and switch from side to side easily and quickly. The pieces will have plenty of scope, so they will be of greater use to you, and you will be able to do more with them. So if you can place your pieces so well that they seize control of the center, then they bring you even greater advantages. As I've said earlier, whenever you are playing chess, don't be in a rush. Don't think that you just want to start the first move, second, third, and you've made a checkmate. You must keep on building, improve your position gradually. Keep improving your position, and checkmate will be realized. You'll just feel like you've checkmated, you've overpowered your opponent. So this has been lesson number 6, chess for beginners. And we want to thank you for supporting our channel. Remember to subscribe, share, and like. Let's develop our chess together. I'll be seeing you soon for our lesson number 7. This has been FM Steve. Thank you. See you next time.